So going into the 2025 Grammys, Taylor Swift has won 4 albums of the year. Beyonce is up for Cowboy Carter. We shall see if she wins album of the year, which will be her first. But Taylor Swift is also nominated, so we'll see if Taylor Swift might get her 5th. But I'm going to make the argument today that she did not deserve all 4 of her albums of the year. And she probably only deserved maybe 1 or 2. Maybe 1. I think 1, to be honest. But I'll give her 2. But then we'll look at all albums, and then you can make your own decision. So let's go to the albums that she probably deserved albums of the year. 2016, 1989. 1989 was a monster album. It was a monster pop album. And she won, which is funny because usually in years past, if someone made a big pop record like Madonna, Janet Jackson, or Mariah Carey, if they were nominated, sometimes they wouldn't win. It changed in the 2010s. There was that one year, I think, women weren't really nominated that much for albums of the year. And it seems like the Grammys has gone just overextended themselves, saying, just giving awards to women for albums of the year. Not to say they don't deserve it, but it seems like they're saying, like, no, we're just going to award women and kind of push away dudes. Now, you had that one year recently when Jon Batiste won, because I think the Weeknd the year before should have won, but they gave it to Jon Batiste. And as much as I like Jon Batiste, nobody remembers that album. But I think Jon Batiste might have been like only few dudes has won lately, maybe except for Bruno Mars. Bruno Mars snuck in there with his one album. But that's been about it. So maybe 2 guys has won albums in a year in the past 10 years or so, which is kind of interesting. So you could argue for 1989, even though I always give her that award, Kendrick Lamar could have won for To Pimp a Butterfly. Butterfly had Humble. It had Be Alright. We Gonna Be Alright, which is one of the best songs of that decade. Kendrick Lamar, that album is just brilliant. It is a brilliant. And I think even Kendrick was like, man, how am I going to follow up this album? And it took him a minute until he's back with Not Like Us. But that album was massive. And so To Pimp a Butterfly could have beat out 1989, but they gave it to 1989. And Kendrick was on that album too, so okay, fine. 2024, Midnights. Now, an argument can be made that SZA could have won for SOS. And I think a lot of people was looking at SZA like, oh, because at that point, Taylor Swift had already won 3 albums of the year. And when she won her 4th, she broke the record of Paul Simon, Stevie Wonder, and Frank Sinatra, who all had 3. And that's when people started perking up saying, wait, she beat out Stevie Wonder? How? And again, no offense to the Swifties. I know you love Taylor and no offense to Taylor Swift. She's a talented young lady. But there is no universe ever where she should have more albums of the year than Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder is a far better songwriter. Stevie Wonder is a far better singer. Stevie Wonder is a far better producer. And most importantly, Stevie Wonder's blind. You can have all that artistry and be blind. You deserve more than 3 albums of the year. And with Frank Sinatra, and no offense to Paul Simon's great too. Frank Sinatra was a voice of his generation, man. He took the crown away from Bing Crosby once upon a time. He changed the whole big band era, because big bands were about the big band conductor and the singer. He changed that around where the singer became the dude. And then the only reason things changed because Elvis popped up. Frank Sinatra was that dude. And you're saying that Taylor Swift has made 4 albums better than those guys. It's just like, But fine, even though SZA could have won that year, Taylor won for Midnights in 2024. Because I think the Grammys wanted her to break the record. So let's get to the 2 wins that she probably didn't deserve. 2021, Folklore. 2021 was an interesting year. There was one album that should have been nominated that wasn't, and one album that was nominated and probably should have beat out Folklore. The album that was nominated was Dua Lipa's Future Nostalgia. Future Nostalgia was a brilliant dance pop record. Probably one of the best records of this decade. And when the other album wasn't nominated and I saw that Future Nostalgia was, I said, well, Folklore is a good album, right? For some people, Folklore is either their favorite Taylor Swift album or the second favorite album, maybe after 1989. But there's nothing bigger than Future Nostalgia. Even today, you can hear Future Nostalgia in commercials. You can hear Future Nostalgia on TV shows when people walk out. You can hear it in the stores. You can hear it in the malls. You always hear songs from that album, even from that album or any other Dua Lipa album. Dua Lipa is probably one of the most underrated artists of her generation, which is kind of interesting. Because this woman keeps on making global hits. Now, this recent album that wasn't nominated, it had a Houdini on it. That was a good album too. It just didn't catch on like Future Nostalgia. And if you haven't watched her CBS special that she does with the orchestra, go watch it. It's fantastic. So Future Nostalgia could have very easily beat Folklore, because at this point, Taylor Swift already had 2 albums of the year. Fine. So let's get to the album that probably should have won and wasn't even nominated. The Weeknd's After Hours. There wasn't a bigger album that year than After Hours. The album was huge, and the biggest song of the year, Blinding Lights. You can go anywhere without seeing the Weeknd in that red suit and that beat up face and Blinding Lights and the rest of the album. Even if you go back to like 2021 and you saw the Billboard Awards, he took probably almost every award, but he wasn't nominated for Blinding Lights and After Hours wasn't nominated at all by the Grammys. And it's a crazy story, because what happened was the Super Bowl was on before the Grammys, and The Weeknd was the halftime artist. And there was a rumor that the Grammys were upset that he performed at the Super Bowl, but he wasn't going to perform at the Grammys. It's like, well, they're both on CBS. But for some reason, he didn't get nominated for anything. And then from that, The Weeknd has never submitted his music again. Now, if you see him nominated for a song, it's usually he's on a track with somebody else and they submitted their song. But The Weeknd after that, Drake did the same thing a few years ago. The Weeknd no longer submits his music because that was his Thriller album. And The Weeknd has always been consistently good. But this album, he was like, this is it. And he was like, no. Biggest album of the year, biggest song of the year. They said no. And that opened, because I think they wanted to open the door for Taylor Swift. Because if you nominate The Weeknd for After Hours and he would have lost the Folklore, people would have said, come on, bruh. Like, really? There's nothing off this Folklore album that's going to be bigger than what The Weeknd did with After Hours. There's nothing on Folklore that's bigger than Blinding Lights. So that's 2021. So let's go to 2010 when this all started. Fearless. Now, Taylor Swift is coming off country. This is the curly haired Taylor Swift. She's coming off country music where she was an established country star. She made the bold move to go pop. I never fault her for that. It was the right move. I never fault her for that. However, Fearless did not deserve that album of the year. There were 2 albums that was nominated in that same year that should have beat her out. The number 2 album was Lady Gaga's Fame album. That's the album we get Just Dance, Alejandro, Bad Romance, Poker Face. Those albums, you couldn't go anywhere in 2009, 2010 without hearing Lady Gaga. Her songs was everywhere. Her videos was everywhere. And then you learn she wasn't just a pop dance artist. She could really sing. Lady Gaga's got one of the best vocals of her generation. Pure vocals, pure talent. And the fact that Fearless beat out that album still, and again, just like with Folklore, I don't know if you hear songs from Fearless like you hear from Lady Gaga. You still hear Just Dance and Poker Face and Bad Romance all the time. So that's that album. But there's one other album that should have beat out Fearless. And that's I Am Sasha Fierce by Beyonce. That album gave you If I Was a Boy. That album gave you Halo. That album gave you Videophone with Lady Gaga. I love Videophone. That video, man. Because her and Gaga made 2 videos together and they're both great. But that Videophone, oh, sexy, beautiful ladies. Beautiful. But most importantly, that album gave you Single Ladies. As Kanye West said, one of the best videos of all times. But unfortunately for Ye, he ran up on MTV and grabbed that award, and now this is the mess we in because of Ye. Damn it, Ye. Bad Ye. But he wasn't wrong. Whoever videos that came off Fearless was never bigger than Single Ladies. Now I gave you all those songs that came off I Am Sasha Fierce. And Beyonce at that point was an established pop artist who paid her dues, and she deserved that award by I Am Sasha Fierce. If she would have lost to Lady Gaga, I think Beyonce would have understood, but not the Fearless. So what do you guys think? Do you think Taylor Swift deserved all 4 albums of the year? Do you think she deserved 3, 2, or 1? I think she only deserved 1. I give her 2. 4, nah. But what do you guys think?